is a springtime ring to have a friend right in your corner. Your heart will feel a little warmer. Tender loving care, tender loving care. Each warm and friendly touch lets someone know you care so much. Tender loving care, tender loving care.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Greenbrier Almond, and thank you for joining us on our program, Tender Loving Care. You see, I'm wearing a shirt tonight that would say Happy Birthday to West Virginia. This is coming up in a few days, our 150th birthday as a state, and it's wonderful to be a West Virginian at this time and to be part of a state that is trying to move forward, especially for our children. And tonight I wanted to focus on the recently passed Senate Bill 359 and some of the implications for the education of our children. You have elected me in the community, along with 4 other members of our community, to the school board. And that's a high privilege and an important position. But beyond that, we now have tackled some big issues at the state level that will, of course, be directives for us at the local level to do something about this and to improve the education of our children. And I wanted to begin the process tonight to talk about the new education reform bill. This is perhaps the biggest change in the past 75 years that we've had in education in West Virginia. So these are truly momentous times. It's a state we're 150 years old, so halfway to our 150th birthday, we had changes before World War II, but this is even as great as those. If you think back, and I certainly can think back through my patients to those veterans who served in World War II, and I'm interviewing some of those and treating them even now, though many are dying at this time in their life. They're very elderly. But, I hear that they maybe went to 5th grade education or 6th grade education, 8th grade education, and then they had a full life. And what the education they had was adequate to do whatever they needed to do in their life. And now we are at a dilemma, but we've tackled it here in West Virginia. And this is not the best way to measure something, but let's use this as a measurement. We are spending more money than 42 states in the union, and only 8 states are spending more money than us, and territories, including Puerto Rico. Only 8 spending more money than us, and yet West Virginians are not getting the bang for the buck. We are not near the top of production, education, and improvement for our children, either socially or academically or career-wise. We're just not getting. In fact, we're near the bottom in most statistics. So this reform that we are going to talk about tonight and has been passed by our legislature and signed by our governor is an important document, and it's a process. But the process and the conversation that goes with it is just as important as the act of the vote in the legislature this past year. So let me go into some of the details as they have been presented to me as a school board member, and then I invite you to get together with your neighbors, your friends. If you have students in school, certainly get involved next fall when the PTO meets, Parent Teachers Organization at each of the schools, or if you have you belong to a group, a church group, a fraternal group, an organization of any type, invite school officials, invite school board members, others to come and talk with you about this whole process that we're going through. As I say, this is a revolutionary time, and maybe I can present this a little bit to you And if there's time, I can talk about some of the other bills that have been passed. But let me go right to the reform bill. You remember this all began because there was an audit. Our governor asked for an audit of the education of our children, and they came up with specific suggestions that would improve. And of course, the governor was trying to seek improvement. Well, a lot of the action then has been directed at dealing with findings of that audit. And our region, our educational region service area, including Upshur County, was one of the 3 different groups that were actually specifically audited. So a lot of this does apply right back to Upshur County. First of all, there's now an alternative teacher certification process. We have a lot of people who want to be teachers. Maybe they were engineers. Maybe they were in the military for 20 years. Maybe they are young people idealistically doing what's called a Teach for America program, but they're coming at teaching in a different way than the traditional going to Fairmont, going to Glenville, going to Wesleyan, or some college or university and getting a teaching certificate. The people are coming to teaching through various pathways. And we need to make ways for them to do that. So the new bill has allowances for this. The details are going to be worked out by the Department of Education at the state level, and of course how we interact with local people who apply to be teachers right here in Upshur County. There's a concern about college and career readiness, and there's been an accusation, I'll use the term that I hear, of dumbing down of education. Well, now we're trying to smarten up education. And so if children have been going to college from high school, they get a diploma, graduate from high school, go to college, but they're not ready for English, not ready for math, they have to take a remedial class. Well, that's not good. The parents have to pay for that. The colleges don't really want to teach remedial classes to students, but they want their students to be ready to take college-level classes. And so we're all being encouraged to improve the education of the children in high school. And there'll be ways that we can do that, but we need to reverse the process of what we've been doing, where children are actually going to college and then having to take remedial classes almost as a matter of course. And so that there's going to be efforts to deal with that. Early childhood education. I've been, ever since I started in medicine in 1970, I've heard that a child at 4 years of age learns in 1 year what a college kid learns in 4 years. And so that being true, and I certainly find that to be true, dealing with families and children over the years, and you think back, and I'm a grandparent now, so I can think to how fast my grandchildren are learning. And they're only in their first year of life, but they're learning much faster than, say, people who are adults learn. But why not improve our early childhood education? And so there's going to be moves to do that. By 2016, 2017, every county will be offering to the 4-year-old who is 4-year-old by the 1st of September an opportunity for a full day of classwork. Now the parent may decide it's a half day. They may decide 4 days instead of 5, and there'll be variations that'll have to be allowed, due to the maturity of the child and other circumstances. But we need to have a head start for all children, and the state's recognizing that. So that'll be coming on in a few years. I'm just giving you some highlights tonight on a program like this. So this is why I've urged you in the beginning to get back to your school system, ask for more detail, go online. All the legislation is there with the State Board of Education, and you can download it and study it in more detail than I can give you tonight. Employee assignment is certainly something we're dealing with. It's been my experience that it's sort of cumbersome when there's a vacancy. There may be a RIF process, there may be a bumping process, and some positions because the calendars, the employee may be in a school where they're not needed, but they can't be moved to another school, at least for a long time. and so we end up having to employ 2 employees, and with the benefits, an employee can be worth $50,000 or more of tax dollars, so it's not wisely spent. So there's going to be some streamlining, and it's going to be a huge change in how we can move employees around and get the right teacher in the right place, the right aide in the right place. For example, if a special needs child has a one-to-one aide, and that child is moving from grade school to middle school to high school, naturally that aide needs to follow that person, and all those things have been cumbersome, but we can deal with that better now due to the mechanisms in place in the law. Faculty Senate meetings. Certainly in medicine, I've learned this, that it's important to get together as doctors. When I was a part of the St. Joseph's Hospital staff, we had monthly staff meetings, and they were very valuable for us to get together, pathologists and radiologists, surgeons, general doctors, psychiatrists, pediatrics, OB, all the specialties in the same room at the same time talking. And I think likewise, faculty senate meetings are very important, and so they're going to be 2-hour meetings, at least quarterly, at least every 45 days, and these will be non-instruction days, and it's a very important time to help our teachers talk with one another and improve the process that we're going through. There's a new way that we're going to be interviewing teachers and superintendents and all the employees. There's an 11-step process. Everyone will go through 9 steps, and many will go through 11 steps. I think apropos to this is that it strikes me as a fair process, but 2 things. One is a principal at the school, that say if teachers being hired at a school, the principal gets a chance to interview that new teacher, prospective person, and then they get 2 votes. The first 9 steps are 1 point each, but the principal's assessment is worth 2 points. And the principal may, for example, in the Eastern Panhandle, where the schools are growing rapidly, and by the way, only 7 counties are growing in the next 4 years. The rest of the counties in West Virginia are going to shrink in population, student population. But over in the Eastern Panhandle, where there's growth, there might be 105 applications for one position, and there's no way to interview everyone. But the principal will get to go through that process and gets to vote twice, if you will, for a person they think they can work with, a person that they may find important to come. And then likewise, the faculty senate will have 2 votes. So we have a lot of times, and this has been my experience on the school board, where the 2 people have the same education, they're equally qualified, they have the certificates to teach, and on and on and on. They're all equal all the way down. But how do we decide who? Well, it is important at the local school level that the decision be made, and now the principal and the faculty senate will have more say. So filling vacancies and professional positions have changed dramatically with this new law. There's much to be said on this. I'm as I say, I'm getting some highlights for you tonight. Kindergarten programs, redefining some of the terms as we gear up to have children in pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. There'll be early childhood classroom assistant teachers with permanent authorization. There'll be some with temporary authorization. Of course, there'll be some that are grandfathered in who may be eligible for retirement in 2020. Nothing will change for them as they complete their career, but we're trying to improve what we're offering. And this is time to do that. I remember it struck me as funny, and I think Mrs. Griffin, Elaine Griffin, certainly an institution in our town with Griffin Real Estate and a radio program, and everyone knew Mrs. Griffin. But anyway, when we were buying a farm, we bought a farm just off of the Poe School Road over in the Mount Nebo area. And I was talking with Mrs. Griffin about this, and she said, you know, I began my career, my whole professional career, my adult career of life at the Poe School. And she pointed out that she was a teacher there for a year or two, and she didn't have a high school teaching. She didn't have a high school degree at that time. Certainly, she didn't have a college degree. She was just a year or two ahead of the students that she was teaching. But of course, she was a remarkable lady, and she was a dedicated person, and I'm sure the children learned even from her at that time. But see, that sounds primitive to us, and so the many changes that are going to be taking place in the requirements for the future teachers, and even new definitions of certain teaching classes like kindergarten. Posting vacancies in positions. This is a big deal. In some smaller counties, a position may be posted, a math position or an English teacher, something very important position, and maybe there's only one applicant, but the position has to be filled within about 30 days. Now it's going to be easier for the school system to go out, repost, see if they can net some more applicants, and of course include the first applicant and the second group of applicants or the third group. Anyway, try to get the best person for the job and get it all done within a 30-day period. So some flexibility in employment of positions. The National Board certification for teachers, it's a wonderful thing that we're doing. We have a new certified teacher this year in Upshur County, and there'll be more and more of these. They are given an extra bonus for passing that certification, $3,500 a year by law. It's codified in the law, and it was the last 10 years. But of course, what if the teacher recertifies? Well, they should be encouraged to do that, and then that bonus should follow them into the second 10 years of their teaching career, or their third 10 years of their teaching career, if they recertify again. So that's allowed now. So we're getting much more smarter with how we spend money and directing people and encouraging people. Positive reward systems always work. Certainly worked for me. When I wanted to play, my mother said, well, clean your room first, do your chores first, then you can go play. And I learned. I get my room clean, and then I ask Mom to go play, and then it's easier. So we need to have reward systems for our teachers too. Planning periods. This is going to change too. We're going to about 40 minutes maybe. It will be the standard. Might be longer in some cases, but it certainly can't be shorter. And this is going to require some changes in our schedule right away, because this bill is now law, and it's going to go into effect here after the 23rd of this month, and certainly by the 1st of July, and certainly by the fall. So we have to work on planning periods. Professional development, we want to have a master plan for making our school systems even better. We're going to have a lot of opportunities to talk in the future, and a master plan for what we want to do. We were blessed with some wonderful grade schools, 7 in the county. We have a wonderful middle school, and of course our flagship high school. Things are great this year. We make strides, and I can say this. The past 2 years that I've been on the board, I can see strides being made, but we can take giant steps forward also, and so a master plan will be part of that. In reductions in force, again, this bumping process will get easier to deal with. Teachers can be moved around within the school system, even from one school to another where the needs are, without actually giving them a letter saying you are being reduced in force, you may be losing your job, and all the chaos that creates in families. And we can avoid that with this new law. School calendar, we've already had some discussion at our board meetings this spring about the school calendar. There'll be more discussions. Everything will be the same. The traditional calendar will go forward in the fall, but there'll be opportunities for discussion. And I think the main change that's happening right now is that we're going to get in 180 teaching days next year, and we're going to do whatever that takes to get 180 days. We may have to have over 200 days scheduled, and we have to allow some snow days and vacation days and other things to happen, but we want to get 180 teaching days. And some counties have not been able to do that in the past, and so we know the school calendar has to be adjusted. It could be adjusted in a major way if local citizens want to do that. There are a couple grade schools in the state of West Virginia that have been on a different calendar, and they seem to like that, but that's maybe not for every school. There's certainly special community development school pilot projects are going on. I think the one that I'm familiar with is going to be on the Gilmer-Lewis line, where there needs to be a grade school, but the children are going to be pulled from both counties, and that's going to happen. I mentioned that the only 7 counties in the state are growing population. Many counties are losing population, and so county borders. We're not going to do away with county borders, but some schools will be built right on the line, or children will be pulled more easily from one county to another, and there'll be a special consideration that those schools function in a high quality manner, and again, in my 2 years on the board, we've had children who are right on the line, and it's become a hard thing to decide. Do they go to say Randolph schools? Do they go to Upshur schools? They go to Webster schools, go to Upshur schools. These things are hard to figure out. But at least the legislature's made it more simple now for us to decide these things. There's going to be, of course, ongoing assessment of our school systems. At the state level, they're going to allow us to make some decisions about what we think is important, and we want to do that. Safe schools has been a big issue in our own school system. We've even had to build alternative class size to increase to accommodate students who were found to be in violation of the Safe Schools Act, but we wanted them to be in school. We wanted them to be in the alternative school, and we had to increase the size of that this past year. So we have to have various ways to measure this and deal with this at the local level. The state superintendent of school, as you know, there was a process where the state school superintendent at the top was replaced this past year, and in the future the law is changing as to the qualifications of the state school superintendent in order to attract perhaps the best person that we can find to lead the schools in West Virginia. There's the Underwood Smith Teaching Scholarship Program. This is allowing people to get forgiveness of their college debt in order to teach in needed areas, and that's a good idea. So we're going to have many ideas like this. A vision plan 2020 coming up. I think it's always a good idea to plan ahead for what we want our teachers and our students to be doing, and we're on a world stage. We're competing with kids in India, China, you name the country of the world now, and we want to be tops. We want West Virginia students to be fully employable and to do well in the future, and so we have to plan ahead. So many things like this are part of that act. Let me just say a few other things that I think are important, and we have a few minutes to talk about that. Concussion. As a doctor, I deal with almost every week. I'm doing these exams for the VA for the traumatic brain injuries, and of course concussions are serious business. And we have contact sports, not just football, but almost any sport can become a contact sport. And if there is a concussion, the legislature, the governor, the state level education, and certainly in Upshur County, we want to take that seriously. And so there's an interscholastic athletic concussion and head injury bill, and the child will be removed if there is even a hint of concussion, and the child will have a complete exam by a neurologist or neurosurgeon or someone fully capable of doing that assessment before the child can get back in and play games, because we don't want to jeopardize anyone's brain. And so that's a good bill in my estimation. So we're going to have an Achieve to Eat bill. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work, but I believe in it. I believe that nutrition is very important to learning, and that we are what we eat, and certainly we need to have the fuel for our brain. And every time how important is the brain? Every time we eat a meal or have energy, about 2/3 of the body's nutritional needs are going to the brain. So anything that is that important, only 1/3 is going to the rest of the body. We need to be feeding the children better. That may be breakfast, lunch, could even be supper in the future. And there'll be an opportunity at least to set up some type of a community action, maybe a foundation, where there can be contributions from private individuals, fraternal groups, again, churches, whoever may want to do this philanthropically in order to feed our children. So this is an attempt to address an issue that's very, very important. And we already have the breakfast at the high school where the children can get a bag after first period, and many children are doing that, and they're ready to eat at that time. And the teachers cooperate. They can take that to their second class. They can eat, and then of course they can still have lunch later on. So we're making efforts to help address the nutritional needs of the children, and there'll be more bills like that, and more opportunities to do that. Let me see if I touch on a few other things here. The computers and texting and taking pictures. If children are doing this, they need to know now that there are felony charges, especially if these are sexually explicit type of messages and pictures and so forth that they're doing. And this is a bill that will have major charges for this. And I think all of us are aware that the pictures that are taken by children can get out there in the mainstream and go around the world, unfortunately. And so the legislature is attempting to do this by increasing the penalties. We also will have optional educational programs to help all of the children and the parents understand why it's important to keep private things private and not be texting this out or taking pictures out. There's going to be increased penalties for assaulting a coach or an athletic official. And this is always serious, so whoever is being assaulted. I mean, it's not fair to a teacher, to a principal, certainly not to a coach or any other athletic official. So it's going to be a high offense in the future. We're going to be having judges are going to have some discretion to keep children in school in an alternative school setting, even past age 19 up to age 21. Judges have told us that if a child drops out of school, then they're on their way to prison. 80% of the people occupying our prisons are school dropouts, had a truancy, had juvenile delinquency. They went down that track a long, long time ago, and now they're serving major prison terms. And we don't want that. We can't afford that as a society. And so judges can order students back into school, probably to an alternative school, and this will change how we educate children. But I think it's a reality check that we cannot have anyone just dropping out in our society where they're prone to commit more and more crime, and this will fall back on the rest of us to pay for them often, and of course the devastation if someone else is hurt, a good citizen, a good parent, a good child is hurt by someone's criminal acts, and if they can be educated early, that's money well spent. So that's part of what we're doing. Well, I said that we'd run out of time before we could cover all of these things. It's been quite a revolutionary, I'll use the word revolutionary time, perhaps the greatest legislative session in 75 years in education in West Virginia. There'll be more details that follow, so stay tuned. Until the next time, this is Dr. Greenbrier Almond thanking you for joining us on our program, Tender Loving Care. Special thanks to Channel 3 for this opportunity to come your way each week, and we'll continue to hit high points and topics of tender loving care as the summer goes forward. Take care.
Stories of a West Virginia Doctor, written by Dr. Harold D. Allman. A collection of 55 short stories about his experience as a small-town doctor in central West Virginia. And Tender Loving Care, Stories from a West Virginia Doctor, Volume 2, written by Dr. Greenbrier Allman, using videotapes to write 70 additional stories of his father's very colorful life as a small-town doctor. They can be found for purchase at Amazon.com and most local bookstores. Tune into Channel 3 Buckhannon for Tender Loving Care with Dr. Greenbrier Allman, where he talks about the connection between Christianity and medicine.